Hello, everybody. Seminole Sidelines is back, and this will be a softball edition because what else would we talk about right now other than Florida State softball being one game away from making it to OKC, avenging last season's shocking regional loss, and this is the way they do it. Lonnie Alameda joked after last year. She said, we're an every other year team, and so naturally, this has to be the year 2023 for us to make it to the Women's College World Series. And they are just 7 innings away, guys. Welcome to Seminole Sidelines. Those of you watching on YouTube, on Facebook, hello, Twitter. And those of you listening via audio on demand, we will have this on Apple, Spotify, so on and so forth. And we will talk about the Noles 8-1 over UGA, a very good Georgia team that had been red hot, especially offensively. But Kathryn Sandercock did her job, went nearly 6 innings. They kept her on a pitch count. They were able to kind of have a best-case scenario. And we'll talk about her performance as well. But, Curt, it was all about the offense. 8 runs, 9 hits. It seemed like they were one maybe angle away from run-ruling Georgia there in the 6th. And the Seminoles flexed their muscles. What a performance by that offense.
I mean, it was the lead of my story. You knew last night, you knew the offense wasn't going to stay down too long. The offense has just been too potent all year. And, I mean, Sunday, obviously, 1 run in 13 innings. We talked about, I mean, that how abnormal that was. And, I mean, it almost cost them their season. I took what Kathryn Sandercock did. But you kind of expected, I think, a bounce back. Truthfully, I think, you talk about that Georgia lineup. And, I mean, we didn't see the big hits so much last night, but we saw how potent they can be. I mean, they got hits off Kat. But that pitching staff is, I think, not even maybe the pitching staff they saw against South Carolina. I think South Carolina's top arms kind of might have been more challenging, and I think you saw some of that last night. And, I mean, it's a bonus that the 2 main pitchers you saw are really the 2 primary ones. I think they've accounted for over 80% of Georgia's innings. You've already seen both of them. So if you're playing 2 more games, or either 1 or 2, you know, I mean, you've already seen them both, and that's a feather in your cap when they haven't seen probably 3 of the 5 you might use this weekend.
Bob, what can you say about that offense and the way that they responded, especially after the struggles they had against South Carolina? It felt like they started to put together those quality at-bats and what Lonnie Alameda and Travis Wilson preach.
Yeah, talking to some of the players, you know, on Wednesday before the Super Regional started, you could tell they had heard about it. They had heard from family and friends and social media, hey, you know, you can't just do that again. You can't only score 1 run in 14 innings against South Carolina. I think part of it was, you know, tip your hat to some really good South Carolina pitching, right? And now, but Georgia's pitchers, both very, very good. I think Florida State was very motivated to come in and make a statement. You know, Coach Alameda mentioned after game 1 that she recognized some nerves, some tightness, maybe early first couple innings, but once those hits started coming that 3rd inning, it really kind of snowballed on Georgia, and you're able to chase Madison Curt picks early on in that game. So I think that was the confidence moment for Florida State, and obviously you give that many runs to Kat, you're in good shape the rest of the way.
Yeah, I think it came up with Kaylee Mudge in the press conference last night. I mean, she kind of talked. I think someone kind of asked her, you know, I think we thought, and I know I wrote in my preview, I think we thought this was a strength-on-strength matchup of Florida State pitching staff versus Georgia lineup. And, I mean, it felt like, I mean, the Florida State offense a bit saying, I mean, we might not mash homers like Georgia does, but we can string together hits, we can attack, we can get some really good contact, whoever they're throwing out there. I mean, once they got rolling, I mean, I think Georgia coach Tony Baldwin put it really well. He kind of said, I think once Florida State gets you in that cement mixer where they're stringing together hits and they're stealing bases and they're just rolling around the bases, I mean, that is how they like to play the game.
I mean, guys, it's a team that hits doubles, right? And I mean, they're one of the best in the country at doing it.
Set a new program record last night.
Correct. And so they go gap to gap. And I think that's been what Lonnie Alameda coins QPAs, right? They call them quality pitch, quality plate appearances. And so we didn't see a lot of those, I don't think, in the regional, especially after the Noles got to that championship final round against South Carolina. But in this one, you saw walks, you saw players putting the ball on the ground, small ball, stealing bases, running aggressively. Georgia couldn't turn a double play, and Florida State scored a run off of it from second. I mean, that's the type of aggressiveness that FSU preaches. And then again, like Bob said, when you give that kind of lead to Kathryn Sandercock, she's going to get the job done. I thought she handled the moment extremely well, coming off of a perfect game, right? And then giving up a home run to basically, her team's in a hole early on. But she settled down and did what she does. I thought she was as good as she was in the perfect game. Not maybe on paper, obviously, but in the way that she handled it, the mindset, and the way that she led her team in the circle.
I think that home run might have just been the competitiveness in Kat that said, okay, you got me. Now I'm ready. And sometimes in a good competition atmosphere, the crowd of 2006, I mean, it was the third largest crowd inside the Seminole softball complex in school history. Again, not counting everybody outside. I think there might have been, again, those nerves, those kind of big game jitters, the butterflies that we all, talk about and think about. But once that home run was hit, I was kind of questioning, okay, what's the response from Florida State once you've taken that initial shot? And Kat was dialed in from there. And I think the hitters immediately responded, in the bottom of the third. So Kat was at her best. I think she's been at her best, through the ACC competition, undefeated, through the ACC tournament, into the regional, now into the supers. We'll see who pitches tonight. We always to be determined. I think Lonnie's very creative in how she uses this pitching staff. We've hit on that a lot, but Kat was at her best. And if this team is going to get to OKC and be successful in the long haul, it is going to be because of depth of pitching staff, but also I think because Kat is the veteran presence, the calm competitive force that can lead this team deep into the postseason.
3 NCAA tournament appearances. I mean, I know a couple teams have hit her. She's given up 14 hits over 19.1 innings, but only 2 runs. She has, last night, I think Georgia was 0 for 11 with runners on base. I mean, they got base runners against her. I mean, the leadoff batter of the game got on a bunt single. But every time there was traffic on the bases, it seemed like that's when she was at her best. And it's a credit to the defense behind her, and it's credit to, just everyone on the kind of, they talk about how they're all in that together and they're all kind of working collectively almost, even though they're 9 different players when they're out there on defense. And I think you saw that a lot. And that's a big reason why Georgia never got that big hit that might have turned the tide or given them a little confidence even to carry into today's game if they put a couple up late. Even Allie Dubois coming in and really shutting the door after hitting the first batter, I thought was exactly what Florida State needed.
Yeah, no doubt.
Georgia was 0 for 12 with runners on base. It just illustrates how good Kat was in those kind of pressure moments.
Kat doesn't give up many home runs, and I know she gave the one up to Kuma, and that got out of the park, but that was the only extra base hit she gave up on the night. Yeah. And I think she even said it in postgame. If they're getting singles, right, that doesn't really hurt you because then they have to string them together. They're not hitting the ball damage-wise. And that defense, Curt, that you talked about, when you have that, giving up a single here and there doesn't matter with the way that Sandercock has that drop ball low in the zone, get it on the ground, let your defense eat, so to speak. They were fantastic last night too. They made so many incredible plays from first base, shortstop, second base. It seemed like everybody, even Harding at third, were making really good plays. If FSU's defense is up to par, guys, it's going to be very hard for people to score on them because once Sandercock gets a lead, it's essentially over. And as Curt mentioned, I really did also like the way Dubois pitched in relief.
Yeah, you talked about Harding, that rocket from third to get Goodnight when she tried to bunt for a single. She just rocketed that ball over there, and it was, Goodnight was almost looked surprised. That was the one that got reviewed. She almost looked surprised, like, she got me, really? Because I think she's used to bunts that good being hits.
There was a shot hit right at Mac Leonard at first, and she snared it and then went over to first. There was good defense. There was no errors. Georgia had 2. I think we've seen some obviously spectacular plays from Josie Muffley and from everybody. They've also had some occasional errors here and there throughout the year that you'd say, well, that was more of a routine play. But they played really, really clean. I thought Thursday night against South Carolina, they were really, really clean too. So again, in these pressure moments, I do think hitting is essential, but does it come back to your core of pitching and defense have to carry you, have to be that kind of consistency that you get every time you go to the ballpark.
Flaherty made a couple plays too at second base that I thought were outstanding. Muffley's been, she's Mrs. Sports Center. So at this point in her career, like it's almost like when she does it, you're like, yeah, that's what she does, right? Like it doesn't even surprise you. I thought outfield played pretty well for the most part. But guys, let's talk about Dubois a little bit too. She's going to be counted on, Curt, to get some big outs, I think, for FSU this postseason, not just supers, but OKC. So I thought her coming in those 18 pitches showed Lonnie Alameda something in that, okay, you can trust me to go out there and get a couple more outs in big spots throughout the rest of the postseason.
Yeah, Lonnie was pretty candid last night talking about, we haven't used Allie a lot lately, and I think that's a great situation to get her in there in a game where there's not really much pressure. You're up 8-1. Things would have to really go south, and she wouldn't have been long in the game long enough for that to be a real problem if things did. But yeah, she handled it well. Especially, I think it's not up there. I think she hit the first batter she faced, and after that, set the next 4 down and really was on. When that changeup is working for her, it's pretty impressive to watch, and it definitely was in relief. And that's that probably 5th option where she might be number 5 kind of in the pecking order, but it just gives you another look that opposing teams have to scout for if there's belief that Florida State may go to her like they did last night, and like I think they would at various points if they were to make it to Oklahoma City.
Yeah. She's got a specialty pitch though, Bob. Like that's the thing is she might be number 5, but you might need that one pitch that's better than anyone else's on the team at the changeup. And that's Lonnie Alameda talks about different looks, right? You have Kat who can kind of spin it all over the zone, keeps it low with the drop ball. You've got McKenna Reed who can, pitch higher in the zone with some more velocity. Royalty can pitch east to west pretty well. And then Mac Leonard offers you another look as well from the left-hand side. So you've got options. It's just, I think Dubois is going to probably be counted on when they look at the scouting report, when they see some players on the other side, some opposing hitters that struggle with off speed. That might be where Lonnie thinks, I got to steal 3 outs here. I got to steal 2 innings. This is the matchup that favors Dubois. And I was looking beyond Georgia for this. I was looking at what happens if they go to OKC and they're playing maybe 4 or 5 different teams out there. And how they have to respond to that. And I fully expect Florida State to make OKC. I think Georgia's a great team. I just think FSU's playing with a little different focus and has a better roster. And when that happens, usually at home, you're going to find a way to finish things off. One more comment I wanted to make on the hit by pitch. I really thought that Georgia's batter was leaning over the plate. And the replay even showed that she kind of flinched into the middle of the plate. Like it might have been a strike if she's not crowding the plate. And I was surprised the umpire, who I thought struggled for most of the night. I thought that the umpire should have probably looked at it. I just think FSU didn't argue it because they were up so big. But anyway, I didn't like it for the principle of the game. I don't like when players are allowed to stick an elbow over the inside part of the strike zone. That to me is like, what are we doing? Anyway, offensively, let's talk a little bit more about that because there were some stars. Kaylee Mudge, as Curt mentioned earlier, Kaylee Harding, the 2 Kayleys combined for 5 hits and 4 RBIs. Big moments from 2 players, quite frankly, Curt, that are going to have to be big for you because of the experience that they possess if the Noles want to continue to make a deep run.
Yeah, that's your what? Your 1 and 3 hitters in the lineup. That's 2 of the players on this roster who have played in OKC if Florida State is to make it there. They were on that 21 team. It was pretty wild. Kaylee Mudge last night was talking about this is her first home super regional, but she's been around with the program for a while. And yeah, they're tone setters. Kaylee Mudge, the top of the lineup, is the prototypical leadoff hitter, but it's great to have the leadoff hitter who's not a reliant on working walks or bunting for hits. She has some pop in the bat, as you saw with the 2 doubles last night. She can hit the gaps hard, and she's a menace on the base pass like so many people are. Kaylee Harding, is just a do-it-all hitter at the plate. She can do pretty much anything you ask of her, and it's been really fun. I mean, I remember she was a big part of that really shocking postseason run 2 years ago to the championship series against Oklahoma. I mean, she got red hot down the stretch. If she does that again, that can do wonders for this lineup.
I think we saw the speed up and down the order too, and we talked about this being a consistent storyline. The team uses its speed to get to first, uses its speed to take an extra base and get all those doubles. Like Curt said, that the program record, 3 doubles last night. That's great to see. You see speed up top with Kaylee Mudge. You see speed at the bottom with Josie Muffley. She helps to kind of flip that order. I know her batting average isn't where she would like it to be, but still every now and then she's getting those productive hits. Scored a run last night. So again, I think for the full lineup, almost top to bottom, not everybody did have a hit, but just to see lots of different people be productive, hits, RBIs, runs, I think that gives you a good feeling going into Friday night's game, where you just feel really like you're riding this momentum of confidence of what you can do as a team.
Yeah, Keith, there were a lot of first pitch swings, and I think that was scouting report based on, UGA's pitchers did a good job, I thought, of not walking batters, at least for most of the season too. They were going to be around the zone, and I think Florida State saw that in scouting this week going into the weekend, and thought, hey, if we get something firm early in the count, maybe first pitch, we've got to attack it. And that could have been an adjustment the Noles also made from the South Carolina weekend, in which they may have felt like they were not attacking good pitches early in the count. And so give Lonnie Alameda a lot of credit for the way that the offense played. All right, the question I want to ask you guys now as we transition, who does Florida State go to in the circle tonight? Because there are options and there are a lot of different trains of thought. Sandercock only threw just north of 60 pitches. I mean, she could go again. She might not have to start. Curt, where do you lean here in game 2?
You won game 1. To me, the only reason you use Sandercock tonight is if it's a close game late and you go to her as a reliever, as a closer. I mean, she has 8 saves this season, one of the most, one of the highest totals in the country. I mean, saves aren't especially a softball thing historically, where pitchers kind of throw 7 innings and that's how it goes. But I think that'd be the only reason you'd see Kat tonight, is if they're up by 1 or 2 or 3 late. Use to your advantage the fact that, like I talked about earlier, Georgia's used both their primary pitchers already. You have 3. I mean, McKenna Reed's been stellar as a freshman. Mac Leonard's been a really solid kind of opener option. She's not going to give you extended innings, but she might be able to give you a few to start things. And I think Allison Royalty, if she can have the control and command, and it seems like normally pretty clear early in Allison's outings if she's kind of got her command, or if it's not one of those days. I think use those 3 to your advantage, and you don't go to Kat unless you're trying to get that save, because she's the pitcher you feel best about overall.
Yeah, I agree. I would either go with Mac Leonard, let her throw a couple trips through the order, or go McKenna Reed. You can even flip-flop them in a different order. But I think I totally agree. You want to try and rest Kat as much as possible today, because if you do go to a game 3, you want her to be totally fresh, totally ready. We don't even know what a game 3 start time could be. It could be at noon. It could be in the heat of the day. It could be at 8 o'clock, because it could be a Florida State, Georgia, ACC, SEC matchup that's really attractive to TV. Because we don't know, I think you have to prepare for these possibilities down the road. So I'm with you. McKenna or Mac make the most sense.
You had to speak it into existence, Bob.
But you have to plan as a coach.
No, you're absolutely right. And even beyond that, do you want them to see her 3 days in a row? Because if you throw her in some capacity today and you lose this game, you're probably starting her tomorrow, and that will be the 3rd straight day they're seeing her, which is pretty much the same situation Florida State's hitters are going to be in with Georgia's, where I think, they got some hits off her tonight, but not a ton of especially hard contact. And like you said, only 1 extra base hit. The more they see her, the more they might be able to have some success, get confidence going against her.
I think I understand both trains of thought completely, and I think you both have valid arguments. I also lean towards maybe you don't pitch Kat Sandercock tonight unless you need her late. I'm not as hesitant about Georgia seeing her 3 times in a row. One, Kat's been in college now for 5 years, 4 or 5 years. She's pitched in every moment. She's been in OKC. To me, it's like if there's a pitcher you don't mind, you're going to throw her out there, right? However, you do have Kenny Reed, who probably needs to experience something like this in her career. Lonnie Alameda has done this before, where she gives younger pitchers a moment to have a chance, even, where common knowledge might say, go to your experience. We've seen that in previous postseasons. Mac Leonard, threw against Marist early, although Marist is not the quality of Georgia. And I don't believe that Mac started a game in the ACC tournament either. I think she came in relief. So they're probably going to go to the matchup. I don't think it'll be Dubois to start tonight. So my bet is it's either Kenny Reed or Mac Leonard. Royalty, I just don't think is giving you the consistency that you need in a postseason right now to go in and get to maybe start a game. But you might need Royalty at some point if the matchup dictates it, and you need her to get you a couple outs the way that we talked about with Dubois. But I tend to think it'll be Leonard tonight because of the experience, and I'm on the same page as you guys. However, I think I would like to see McKenna Reed go, and she's had big starts already this year against Duke, Florida, Clemson, right? So, like, to me, that's kind of the level of a Georgia, team. So that's where
I think you're going to see both, unless one of them gets in a roll. Unless Max starts and gets in a roll, or McKenna starts and gets in a roll, I would imagine you're going to see both of them.
Yeah, that's got to be the way you go, right? And then again, if you have Kathryn Sandercock available late and you're up, I think if you're in the fourth or fifth inning and it's 2-1 FSU or 3-2, that might be where you're like, all right, Kat, we need you. I do like that FSU has seen both of Georgia's arms, main arms,
and hit them both pretty well.
It seemed like all three of their arms who pitch. I mean, that was the third number three was their number three, right? Like that wasn't someone buried down their rotation.
So it was Kylie Macy. I think she's only thrown like 30 innings this year, but she's the only one besides the other two thrown more than like 10. Like those are the only three they're going to throw this weekend, I have to imagine. Like it would be a surprise if they threw anyone else.
All right, can I get some predictions from you guys before we sign off here for the day? Do you think the Noles end it tonight, or does this thing go to a game 3 if necessary tomorrow?
I think it's over tonight. I think Florida State takes care of business, and I think it'll be a closer game than last night.
I agree. I think Kathryn Sandercock probably not starting and maybe not throwing at all opens up the opportunity maybe a little more for Georgia. It'll be an interesting stage for McKenna Reed. With pitching, will she start or will she come out of the bullpen? It's a big stage for a freshman, kind of with the chance to send her team to Oklahoma City. But yeah, no, I think how well Florida State hit both of Georgia's main pitchers bodes pretty well going into tonight. Adjustments can be made, obviously, but how many adjustments or how severe of adjustments are you making this far into a season? And I think Florida State gets it done tonight.
Would like to see the Noles come out, score first, jump on them early, put the pressure on Georgia away from home to really start to feel it, to have to maybe make something happen and start pressing as they maybe realize that that's the final few outs of their season. And maybe they get out of their swings. They're a really good offense, guys. And you saw the home run that they hit off Sandercock. She doesn't give up many of them. I looked through their lineup and there's like 4, 5, 6 bats that can put the ball over the fence. And it seems like everyone hits 300 on their team. And it is a really good offense for the Dogs. And so you do have to be wary that you don't just go out there with Mac Leonard or Kenny Reed and Georgia gets hot, hits 3 home runs, and is feeling pretty good about themselves going into a possible game 3. So you'd like to see FSU keep the aggression. How about the crowd last night? You mentioned it earlier, 2,000 plus. There's probably another couple hundred beyond the fence that they can't count, within the left field grass and onto the parking garage. So great atmosphere. It was cool on TV. I know you guys were there covering. I'm going to join you guys tonight at the Plex, and maybe we'll see Florida State knock this thing out of the park and advance to OKC. Last comment from both of you. How cool has it been to see the growth of softball, not just in Tallahassee, but throughout the country? We're starting to see huge crowds, games on ESPN like we'll have tonight on the big channel. It really feels like this sport is it's been trajectory has been upwards, and now it seems like it's about to take off.
Yeah, I think it's taken maybe the last 5 or so years. I remember Coach Almeida saying, back in Sydney Sherrill's freshman year, she and some of her teammates were begging, people to come over. Hey, we've got a game tonight. Just don't walk over to baseball. Stay for a couple innings and watch softball. So it truly has happened really fast here. Look, we all like to critique ESPN to some extent for some of their things that they do, but they have elevated this sport to an incredible level. They like the best of 3 super regional format. The coaches, I think, do too. It's been a good relationship there. We've seen the sport really get to an incredible point to where, hey, we need to talk yet again about more seats, another party deck at the Seminole Softball Complex, more berm space, something. Because honestly, it's great. It's a great atmosphere to stand and watch, but I think people want to sit somewhere, and that just tells you how much people are loving and invested in the sport.
People like park their cars on the top deck of the garage in those primo spots the night before to like lock in their spot. Like, I mean, that's like the level of commitment is crazy. And I mean, it's a fun product, no doubt. I mean, I think the speed and how Florida State plays the game and having pitchers like Kathryn Sandercock and McKenna Reed, I mean, make it a really compelling product. It's very high intensity. It's very high octane. It's kind of like, I mean, it's kind of like the sport that gives like an adrenaline shot to watch. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, I mean, I think it's a testament to Lonnie Alameda kind of raising the ACC up, and some teams have rose to meet them. I mean, there are 3 teams playing this weekend from the ACC? I think as many as the SEC, which is like a few years ago, it would have been crazy to think there are as many ACC teams playing this weekend in super regionals as SEC teams. And Florida State, I mean, it still seems to be remaining kings. I mean, or queens maybe is the better term. And I think they're the second highest ranked team left. And yeah, let's see if they can make a run at it.
You could have put probably 4,000 people at this game last night, and maybe even more tonight. It's amazing. Like, some people were joking, texting me, what if they moved the game to Hauser and put up temporary fencing? And I know Lonnie Alameda asked for temporary bleacher seating in the outfield for this weekend. And unfortunately, I'm pretty sure due to safety hazards, they couldn't meet that request because of the way that the real estate works around the Plex. And you want to make sure people are safe watching. So, yeah, you could have definitely put 4,000 to 5,000, I think, this weekend to watch FSU softball. There are people on our boards asking for tickets. They're on Facebook asking for tickets. I think, I saw videos of scalpers like outside of the Plex trying to sell. I mean, it's cool. It's big time, and they deserve it. This sport deserves it. That team deserves it, and they have given the effort and the investment to make this thing big. And quite frankly, it's a fun sport to watch. So continue to play at a high level and continue to put out a good product, and we'll see. So tonight, 8:00, ESPN. See if the Noles take down Georgia one more time and punch their ticket to OKC. For Bob Ferrante and Curt Weiler, I'm Ariya Massoudi. Appreciate you guys watching, and please give us 5 stars on Apple. Please subscribe and like on YouTube, and if you would like, floridastate.rivals.com, theosceola.com, subscribe to our website and get the best Noles content year-round. We will talk to you soon, hopefully on Monday, with good news from Florida State softball trying to beat Georgia. Until we talk to you again, this has been Seminole Sidelines.